Thank y'all for taking the time to join with me here today. My name's Colin. I'm the customer success lead here with Good Shuffle Pro. I do have the absolute pleasure of moderating today's session, Investing for Success, Strategic Spending in the Events Industry. We've got some excellent speakers with some great ideas lined up for you here today. So we've run a little quick audio check before we got started here, so we know we're ready to rock and roll. What I'll do next is I'll introduce or I'll hand it over to our speakers one at a time. That way they can introduce themselves. They wanted to get to know you or let them introduce themselves on a little more personal basis, and then I'll go and stop my screen share so we can then start the discussion and get the ball rolling on some discussions here. We will have some time toward the end of the session here today to answer some questions and make sure that if there is anything that we can help answer, we'll be able to answer it there. If you do have a question, we do want this to be an interactive session, so we do have the chat. We've got the Q&A pod as well. So the Q&A pod is the best way for you to queue up any questions for our great panel that we've got for you here today to make sure that they can answer them and I can queue them up as we go through here. So looking at the poll that we've got here, looks like most folks, there we go. Looks like most folks would invest in operations if they had an extra $1,000 to spend, which is very interesting to see. We did have some fulfillment best practices in a session just before, but love to see that folks are evenly split almost on staff and inventory, but we do have one person said that they would sneak off with that money under the cover of night. So whoever you are, we will be sure to keep a cautious eye. So without much further ado, would love to give a special thanks to our annual users. And if you have not upgraded to annual yet, in addition to all the fantastic benefits like custom reporting, priority chat support, and all the other benefits of saving the money on your subscription, you can save even more if you're still billing monthly. You could switch over to annual billing using the code Summit2024, and that'll ensure that you can save 25% on your annual subscription. And you'll also be able to join, or you will receive an email inviting you to our exclusive annual only event at the end of the day today, which you'll have the chance of winning some money as well. We also do have, speaking of money, we do have our referral program, which we've revamped here. So we've got the link here, pro.goodshuffle.com/referrals. That is a great way to send anyone who's looking to up their game with their software they're using to manage their company. If you add their information there, you will receive a $250 gift card of your choosing. So that's enough for me. Would love to turn things over to our great speakers that we have here today. First up, I would love to introduce Lindsay Cavanaugh. Go ahead, Lindsay. Would love to hear a little bit more about your business and a little bit more about your background.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So my name is Lindsay, and I own Mahawi Tent. We are a rental company in Western Massachusetts. So it's a city called Great Barrington. And I'm a second-generation family business. And I bought the business from my parents a couple years ago, and they are so fully retired now. I'm very thankful for it. But we are going on 40 years right now. So it's been around for a little bit. And I mean, I grew up doing dishes since I feel like I was like 12. So it's just kind of been a part of the every summer when we all get so busy and stuff. So I'm thankful enough to be in a position where, we were a very established company. And so I just kind of was able to come in and evolve it, improve it, kind of bring it into the modernize it, social media, all that stuff like that. And we have, and Good Shuffle being a good part of that as well. And we've just seen, exceptional growth in the past, 4 or 5 years. And we're actually building a new warehouse right now to kind of just double our footprint. So we are really kind of going for it. But yeah, no, this is a long-term game for me, and just kind of evolving any type of learning experiences I can get, just like this and networking and stuff I'm all about. But yeah, I'm happy to be a part of the industry because it's a fun one.
Nice. Well, happy to have you here, Lindsay. Would love to turn things over to Cam to hear a little bit more about your background.
Hey there, my name is Cam, and I own Render Events. I have been a part of, I think, every Good Shuffle Summit since y'all started them a few years ago. So I'm happy to be back. I own Render Events, formerly Beautiful Event Rentals. Been in business since 2012. So this May will be going on 12 years. I'm super proud of what we get to do. And we work with about 500 events a year. We do corporate events, social parties, weddings, anything worth celebrating, really. If you have been listening to podcasts, you may know that I have a podcast that I've had for the last 3 years. It's called the Render Podcast. You can find it on Apple and Spotify and probably other places, but those are the 2 places that I listen to podcasts. So that's where you can find them. I also have a resource shop and an online course called Rental Biz Academy, where we have over 700 students, which some of you who might be here might be one of my students. So I'm happy to see you if you are here. And I teach people how to, Brenton, hey, you just won something in the lunch hour, I saw. But I teach people how to run their rental companies in a strategic way. I started my company not knowing a single lick of anything. And so I am taking my hardships and the things that I've had to learn the hard way and teaching them to you. And so I'm going to share some of those today, but would love to chat with y'all. You can find us on Instagram at therender.events. I also have my personal side where I show a little bit of behind the scenes at therender.cameron. So you can see that there, and I'd love to connect with you. But that's just a little bit about myself.
Beautiful. Thank you, Cam. And Chelsea, I see that we've got you on the session here. Let us know if you've got the mic connected on your end. Would love to hear a little bit more about your background.
Thank you, Colin, and I appreciate you having me here today. This is very exciting. So my name is Chelsea Suddes. I am the owner of Rent Pearl. Rent Pearl has, we actually just launched May 4th of last year. So we're coming up on our first year in business. It's very exciting. I have a background in wedding planning and design, which I have a separate company that's called Pearl Weddings and Events that has been open for 8 years. So this company ended up starting from a need in the industry. So I am based in Connecticut. And after COVID, as we all know, it got very busy with weddings, and a lot of my wedding clients didn't have access to rentals. So I knew that was my time to jump into the rental market. So 2020 was when I started playing around with things, purchasing a lot of furniture. As many people I am sitting with today will know, started with storage units and then quickly expanded because more people wanted it. And then I decided to open my company May 4th of last year. So we're coming up on a year. We are Connecticut based. We mainly focus on lounges and specialty furniture pieces. So we don't do a ton of tabletop or chairs at this time. We're still new, learning a ton. And I will say Good Shuffle Pro has been such a huge help in growing this business, because as soon as we launched, it really took off. And I've been really fortunate to have a great team. Colin's been so wonderful for us, for supporting us. So I'm so excited to share more and hear more from all the other panelists that have been doing this for even longer than I have.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for joining here. Thanks for those kind words as well. Next up, would love to introduce William from the National Event Connection Incorporated. Welcome, William.
Hi, how's everybody doing? So my name is William Bruner, and I am the CEO of National Event Connection. We are going on about 10 years in business now. We're located in New York. We are a tri-state business for the most part. However, when my guys do get bored, I do send them out to things like Texas and Arizona and other fun places. So we mainly focus on event production, from video walls, lighting, sound. We do a lot of furniture, and kind of like some other people have said, we started out in basements, and we've been able to work up to now, we're in about 9,000 square feet of warehouse. And with 9,000 square feet of warehouse comes a lot of craziness trying to figure out where to put things. So for us, Good Shuffle Pro has been such a vital, important tool that we've been able to use in order to just, make our operation be able to be as quick and efficient as possible. So that's kind of where we come from. And, I'd love to see what everybody else is doing and how we can all work together to continue to prosper.
Gorgeous. Thank you again, William. Next up, we have Dawna Terrell from Factor 110 and 110 Events. Would love to hear a little bit more about your background.
Thank you, and thanks for having us. I'm happy to be here. Our owner is Brian Farrell, and I'm the VP of our creative services, which basically means I get to do a little bit of a lot, just like most of us do. But we are based out of Oklahoma City, but we also travel with our clients to multiple states all over the nation. We have a 60,000 square foot warehouse, and that consists of our rentals, but also our linen department. So we do all of our own in-house cleaning of our linens and our dishes, our tabletops, all of that. We also, for us to help understand how we are structured, we're unique in the sense that we have our Factor 110 event management company, and within that we have a division 110 events, which uses Good Shuffle to help manage our inventory. And then we also have our Blue Circle Productions division. So we do all of our own audiovisual production, content creation, technology, those kind of things. So we also have a prop shop in our warehouse. And so if we design it and we don't have it, we will build it. And so that's always exciting to see that making those creations come to life. I've been full-time with Factor for a little over a year, but worked with Factor for multiple years. We have been in business since 2006, and we are an event and destination management company. So we do a lot of different variety types of events, and our 110 Events rental company helps to support that variety. So born and raised in Oklahoma, and I love helping to plan and design, unique events and experiences for our clients. So happy to be here.
Gorgeous. Well, happy to have you here as well. And last but not least, we've got John Neel from SOS Entertainment. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Colin. Nice to meet you guys. This is my first time serving on the Good Shuffle panel, or it's very nice to meet all of you guys. I'm with SOS Entertainment. We are based out of California. I'm in San Diego currently, kind of Northern California, or Northern San Diego and Escondido. We have a 20,000 square foot warehouse here. We have a 10,000 square foot warehouse in Santa Clarita, which is in North LA. And then we have a smaller storage unit in San Jose, which services NorCal region, as well as Las Vegas. We have a smaller office there. I personally have been in the AV industry for about 22 years, working my way up through hospitality-based hotels, managed a lot of big box hotels, including the Beverly Hilton. I was with Virgin Hotels for a while, director of AV. Vans Shoes, I was their technical director for about 8 years. And I was introduced to SOS because I'm a rock climber, and I went to Yosemite, ran out of money, drove down south, and an advertising company just kind of introduced me to the company, and I've been here for about 3 years.
That's quite a journey. Love to didn't know about that rock climbing background. That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining here today and for sharing some of your background. I'm going to go and stop my screen share here so that way we can get some of the discussions kicked off. Would love to first turn things over to you on your side, Lindsay, to hear a little bit more about where you felt or where you found investing in your company to generate the most success or to generate the most return on your side.
Sure. Yeah. So like I was mentioning, this is my family's business. So my parents, coming into the new age where I feel like weddings started to get very complex and high end and involved, they kind of were used to a Samsonite frame tent type of wedding. So I mean, we did really well, and I obviously wouldn't be here without them, but I think they just kind of were like, why fix it if it's not broken? So I, once they started to think about retiring and me buying the business, I had a lot of years to catch up, buying inventory and coming to a level to be with our competitors and like be able to participate in these higher end weddings. So I will say, we had a very successful few years after COVID. And I think I kind of give that credit to the staff. So I'm kind of torn between, if what's more important between staff and then having good inventory. I feel like both of those kind of go hand in hand because, the attractive and appealing good inventory brings people in, but the good staff and operations is kind of what's keeping them coming back. So for us, I literally bought 10 years worth of stuff in 2 years, and which is also why I'm building a new warehouse. I'm kind of busting at the seams, but I really, really attribute that to kind of noticing what some weak spots were that were with us. So, inventory aside and buying things I knew that we needed just to kind of create that appeal to attract those clients. I just a couple years ago hired my first full-time like warehouse manager. So that was something where I just relied on our guys to be like, all right, clean the chairs, but we're so busy that sometimes that stuff kind of falls to the wayside a little bit. And then, now as the owner or, general manager or whatever, those are the things that you're worried about, when you go to bed, like, oh, are those chairs dirty? Or, oh, is the quality, do they clean that dance floor? Like, and that's a representative of your quality of your product. So again, it can just even be a frame tent, but if it's dirty, you're not going to get that repeat business. So that general or that warehouse manager has put that totally at ease. And, knowing that we have quality stuff, it's clean, the operation of that is seamless. And just that part is just taken care of. Because I'm like I had to learn, because we all wear like 1,000 hats. As a small business too, I'm doing accounting, and then I'm also HR, and then I'm also doing this stuff. And it's sometimes can be a lot. And I obviously have been involved in my family business for a while, but I have a long time to go. So I really can't, I have to try to avoid burnout. So I think really investing in people that can take those tasks that anyone can do off your plate. And so you can focus on tasks that only you can do. Like the big picture where it's like the whole working on the business, not in the business. And I really think that me doing that over the past few years has been able to open my time up to build this new warehouse and build get that next step going. So I, attribute again, just that between really good inventory, it might be that initial shock of a price, but knowing the ROI that it's going to be is, knowing that you can be competitive with your competitors and be like, I have this stuff, I have a variety, I have, the products that these higher end weddings want, and the lower end, it's variety, right? But regardless, my staff has been amazing, and just kind of creating these smaller operations that, will just help in the big picture. So I can kind of focus on other things that's gonna, keep elevating us.
Very cool. And hearing that you are you're looking into a new warehouse. I know John and William as well. I was hearing stories of like looking into like where, or like acquiring new property or buying new property.
Okay.
William, on your side, were there any specific challenges or things that you looked for when looking to expand or buy a new space on your side?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I would say the biggest one right off the bat is, ceiling height. You can always, there's so much to take advantage of. You can always build taller. That's exactly what they did in Manhattan. And that's what you have to do in a warehouse. You can always get a forklift. You can put stairs in. One of our old warehouses, it was like 16 feet tall. I ended up building an entire second level loft that we could actually walk around, that I turned into a bedroom during COVID because I was there so much. So I would say that's going to be number one. Number two is parking, for trucks, for your staff. Those are going to be really important things that you're going to want to look for, depending on what type of, machinery or whatnot you're looking at, making sure that they have proper electricity needs. Security, is it fenced in? Is it not fenced in? If it's not fenced in, is it in a good area? Are you gonna, is there potential for vandalism? These are all things that, I've dealt with throughout the years. I'm like a professional mover at this point. I think we moved 6 times. So it's been a lot. Those are just, I would say those are going to be your key elements. For us, it was always less office and more warehouse. That's how I've wanted it as much as possible. Right now we're in 2 locations right now. They're about 5 minutes away from each other. One is about 5,000 square feet with about a 500 square foot area for printing and fabrication of graphics. And then the other one that I'm sitting in now, this one is about 4,000 square feet. And this one is about, I would say 800 or so square footage of office, just to give enough room to, do production, things like that. So that's kind of, those are my key points as far as for warehouse and facilities.
Very cool. And speaking as someone who is 6'4", high ceilings are a must. When I was traveling around, particularly in the south of Italy, I was like, I'm going to hit my head on everything here. How about yourself, John? Were there any other details or any specifics that you were looking for when making that important decision of investing in that space?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And to William's point, we moved probably about 3 times within the 3 years too, just kind of jumping right in the same areas. Security is a big point. We have quite a massive fleet. I'd say about 22 to 23 vehicles here at one time. We also recently purchased 40 acres in Oceanside that we're turning into a wedding venue. So we store a lot of our fleet out there. We have DJs out on tractors doing dirt work. We kind of utilize all of our resources at all times. But look, our warehouse, especially, one key point that I note is that a mezzanine is key. So half of our warehouse has a mezzanine that we built out of rack shelving, and then we leave the other half open where we can still tech out our LED walls and do our showroom stuff, bring in clients. But fencing, especially in California, it's always a thing. We have a pretty high-end security system. We make sure that we have a good process for people locking it up when they leave. There's always, we have somewhere next to 100 events actioning across California almost every week. So there's always constant movement in the shop. And to speak to the warehouse layout, just keeping your inventory in line and separating your audio, video, lighting sections, your rigging sections, all of those are key points.
Very cool. Nice. And speaking a little bit more about inventory, I was hearing on your side, Lindsay, but also on your side, Cam, of like what to invest in, what items to purchase. How do you on your side, Cam, how do you know what to invest in, and what do you like take a chance on? Do you have a process for finding that on your side?
Yes, if you know me, if you've ever listened to my podcast, I have processes for literally everything. Part of what we've done for kind of bigger ticket items, things that we're not super sure are going to rent, things like ghost chairs, boxwood walls, things like that. Those are easy. Like, I'm going to get my money's worth for sure. But I do a lot of decor rentals, which means there's high probability that something that I like might not be something that somebody else does. And so we have kind of two different processes, and sometimes we use both when we're looking at something, and sometimes we use one or the other, depending on ship times and how can I get it here quickly. The first one is that I will pull the people who give us business a lot. So that's usually our planners. It might be some venues that refer business to us, but we have a group of people that just use us quite often. And so being able to ask them like specifically, hey, I'm looking at doing this or buying this. Is this something that you think your clients would be interested? Or even pulling your Instagram. If you follow us on Instagram, just a few weeks ago, we pulled a new dining table that I'd like to either build or I have an opportunity to buy some, but it's a round wooden table. It's not something that you would need to have linen on. So I pulled on my Instagram and see who necessarily wanted them. And that's a mix of a lot of planners, but also clients and parents of brides and grooms and corporate and everyone, really. The other way, outside of polling people who give us business, is sometimes I'll test it on my website, which means I'm going to put either a stock photo or a photo of it in use. If I have like one or two items and I'm just looking to grow my quantities, I'll put it on my website, and I'll put on Good Shuffle, I literally put it the amount that I think I'm going to buy. So if I'm looking at a sofa that I want 8 of, I'm going to put 8 as my quantity, and I'm going to set aside 8 so that when it shows up on my website, it says contact us for availability. That happens obviously if you've got orders that are booked for those specific days, it's going to say contact us for availability. And so it kind of works the same way. And so then people can still put on a wish list, and I have the opportunity to say, you know what, your event's next week. I can't get it here fast enough, but it'll be available later. And so I'll test it by that way, seeing who is engaging on it. I'll put it in on our website. I have a section called new items. So I'll tag it new. So it goes into that item. I'll tag it as seating. I'll tag it as sofas. I'm going to tag it so it shows up a few different areas. And that's where sometimes I'll put it on my Instagram as well. Sometimes I'll put it on the website and I'll email it to all of our planners. It just kind of depends. I am not a big gambler. I don't like to gamble my money. I don't like to gamble my inventory. And so what I like to do is make sure that I'm making sound decisions, because if I didn't do those two things, I would have probably spent, honestly, hundreds of thousands of dollars on things that I thought were really pretty and thought they would rent, and turns out they didn't. I actually share in my course an example of these beautiful black dining chairs that I thought were gorgeous. And I was like, for sure, everyone is going to like these. Put them on my website. I did blog posting for it, so it would show up on SEO. So if someone like search on Google black dining chair rentals, that would come up. I put it on our social media. I bought a couple. I did massage shoots with them. Turns out after like 6 months of having it up there, I had one inquiry and it was for a styled shoot. And I was like, yeah, nope, I don't think I'm gonna buy that now. And that saved me a lot of money. And I've done that over the years and it saved me quite a bit of money. I'm sure I might be missing out on like 1 or 2 orders of something, but 1 or 2 orders doesn't pay for the product in full and make me money. I want my stuff on my shelf to be paying rent. I kind of look at my warehouse as a apartment complex. You have a certain amount of space that you have for the sofa or for an LED wall or for linens or for whatever it is. If you are not paying your monthly rent on my shelf, and I know exactly how my every square inch of my warehouse should be paying me in rent, if you're not paying your rent, you're out. Or I'm going to put you on some sort of plan of I'm going to increase your social media use. I'm going to suggest it more. I'm going to upsell it more. I'm going to do something to get you working if I think you are a worthy enough tenant to stay on my shelves. And if you're not, so yeah, I'm going to replace you with someone else who is going to be paying me rent on my shelves. So that's just how I kind of look at my warehouse and what I'm actually going to invest my money in. Because at the end of the day, I might think it's pretty, but somebody else might not. And I might buy something that I don't think is very pretty, somebody else does. So that's how I look at it.
Got it. Yeah, I really appreciate that analogy of like my warehouse is an apartment building. I think that is an amazing way to think about it. On our user summit 2 years ago, I think we had another speaker talk about like the biggest like demon to slay in the events industry or rental industry is square footage. Because they walked into their warehouse one day and someone was using a poker table in their inventory as their desk for their office. And they were like, oh, God, we got to get this thing out. We're wasting so much space. And I also love just thinking again of your side, William, not only like, I guess, horizontal space, but also vertical space as a priority. I think that is very interesting and like how it's all laid out. Well, thank you, Cam. On your side, Chelsea, are there any things that you have done to like know an item is performing or to track how it's been used in terms of like that return on investment on your side?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I launched realistically. I mean, I opened up a couple years ago, but my launch was about a year ago. So I've been diving into all this kind of out the gate because, as everyone here probably knows, it's a big investment. And when you start a company, the first thing you want to know is that it's going to make you money, and every piece of investment that it's going to be a return, because being 1 year in, you want to start breaking even, making a profit within 3 years, or else it's not even worth having the company. That's always my like outline for how I open and run companies. As far as looking at each piece. So one thing I did want to mention about when I did start like purchasing, in case anybody who's watching this is brand new and doesn't have years of experience. One small tip that I had found through listening and talking to a lot of people was, because I chose to go into the lounge, more doing the lounge items, I was curating packages. So whenever I purchased a sofa, the sofa had 2 chairs, a coffee table, and 2 side tables that went with it. So I didn't ever purchase some random, blue chair and didn't have something else that would complement it, due to the fact that I'm not just trying to rent that one chair. That doesn't bring a profit into for me. I want to be renting multiple lounges. I want every single time one of my trucks goes out, it has at least 2 lounge setups plus items. So constantly looking at how each item can be within the other one, or creating, vignettes or curating collections, which I have found with Good Shuffle Pro, curating those packages for clients ahead of time is such an easy sell, because so many people can get really overwhelmed with the shopping experience of like picking their pillows and picking their rug, that when we curate those packages for them, most of the time people are just coming in and being like, I want all of that. Like, I don't even know what's in it. Just give that to me. So that is like kind of how we've done our purchasing. And then again, because we are year one, everybody's in this event industry. I'm located in Connecticut. So we have pretty much, from April to October is our event season. We do a few winter projects. We mainly are in the wedding market because I have 14 years experience in the wedding industry and I have a whole other company. So we were able to get into that market really easily. So with that small period of time, basically I already had a season to do a full review of, which was awesome. So, May we launched. By the end of last year, I was able to do a full review of how every single product was going. And I kicked a lot of people out, just like Cam said, my tenants were gone. I was, if it's not making me money and no one's inquiring for it, it told me a lot about what people want. I do have a wedding planning company and we have been around. My company's been around for 8 years. I have 14 years experience in this industry. So I do know a lot about how to track trends, what to look for, what to anticipate. I get intel directly from my clients in my other company of like what they like and what they don't like. So that's been super helpful. And I do take all of that information and those resources and apply it. But at the end of the day, the numbers are what tell me. So, a couple people had mentioned too that they work with a lot of planners. We work with tons of planners and, they reach out for styled shoots because they want to push the limits and they want specific items, which is awesome. I love creativity, but you also have to be super conscious of your market and your market might not be what something else does. So like, again, I'm on the East Coast. I love everything the West Coast does. I wish the East Coast would be really, explore into different cool cane materials and stuff like that. But we are, New England traditional, and there's a lot of pieces that just stick and do really, really well, even if they're not the cool and trending pieces. So those are all the different elements that I really am reviewing constantly. And then ultimately, it always comes down to the financials. I mean, it's a company with product and cost, and I am not just giving my couches a place to hang out because it would be pointless for me. So yeah.
Love to hear it. And the big question that I have, and this is something that I get asked a lot, particularly as folks are like just opening up their business or just getting rolling with their business. How do you know how much to charge for your items? Is there a formula or is there something that you look for on your side, Chelsea?
Oh, for me, yeah.
Yeah.
So how I went about it as far as for pricing, I looked at my market and what other people are charging. Again, I had the ins because I am a wedding planner first. So, having both companies has been very challenging, but also very rewarding in the sense of the access that I have to the resources. So, I looked at everything that was surrounding my area and in my area. In Connecticut specifically, there's only one other lounge rental company. So I did look into New York City, the Massachusetts area, but you also have to be super conscious of the pricing of the warehouses and your location can be so different. Every single piece has to be covering all your overhead expenses, but you also need to price yourself so that your clients will actually purchase or rent the product. So I think it can be a little bit different for everybody as far as how they're pricing, but I think you have to be taking into account your overall business expenses, making sure you know what you need to cover based off of what you're anticipating of how many projects you can run. That number you can do based off how much furniture you have, right? Because you have 2 couches, you can't have 7 projects in one weekend because you only have 2 couches. So being able to kind of anticipate what you're going to be going out for the year, what your overhead or expenses are, how much the cost of your warehouse is, and then what your area and the competitive pricing, knowing that as well so that you can price yourself again competitively. I would never suggest to price like super low under. I know that some people want to come out into the industry and they're concerned about having a price point that might seem high to them, or they might be like, by the third or fourth time, this is already making money, but that's the intention. So don't undercut yourself, match yourself to the industry, because if you have great product and a good, system, like a good Shuffle Pro system, and then also great staffing, you can meet that price point and you're meant to be there, because undercutting the industry doesn't help you get business. It actually makes your business suffer.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, thanks for that insight on your side, Chelsea. Would love to turn things over to Dawna because I got one of the newsletters from your business and saw that you were doing some excellent investment in your community. So, would love to hear a little bit more about what you look for with what you choose to invest in and how you come to some of those decisions on your side.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Yes, I am excited to share about what we do as far as investing in our community. Um, Really, it starts with you have to start somewhere. Any is better than nothing. So, and you just have to take a look at your business model. And there's a lot of factors to consider whenever you're looking at ways to invest your money. The question you had with that $1,000 of where would you invest it was very difficult to decide because we do invest here at Factor. We invest in our communities. There's multiple communities, and we also invest in our staff. So you have to look at what's important to you, what's important to your organization, but also your staff, because what your staff considers important is also a driving force for where you want to invest, not just inventory. You know, what does that look like, and how does that investing in your community generate more business for you? And so taking a look at your business, what you can contribute. Anything is better than nothing, but you just have to do it. And you just have to figure out what that looks like, big or small, whatever works for you and what you want to do and how you want to do that. So for our 110 events, rental side of the house, what we do is we look for ways to support our nonprofit organizations. And that can be maybe through a discount or sponsorship or partnership that we have with them. And sometimes that sponsorship can be done in exchange for benefits and like tickets or trade or restaurant services. Any of those kind of things could be part of that sponsorship. But what it does is allows to provide some additional benefits back to your team and also to clients. So we often offer some of those benefits out to our clients and building those relationships. We're about relationship building and partnerships and ongoing, relationships that we have with them. And so being able to do that and being able to give back to our team in that way is great, but it also gets you out there in an ad through that organization, maybe a logo on their website or signage, ways that you may not have considered promoting yourself otherwise and hitting different markets and avenues. So we do like to support our nonprofits. It's a great way to support them. It may not always, like I said, be financial contribution. It might be in kind, but there's great ways to use those in-kind benefits through that sponsorship. And we do about roughly 10% of our total revenue through sponsorships and giving back. And so the nonprofits and organizations, it's a significant investment, something that we've always done and our president has always done and wanted to do. And our staff has that same characteristic that we want to support and make it a priority. So, and I think, Colin, what you're referring to is kind of the recent grants that we were able to offer, which is, this is all building up to that, right? It's all encompassing. It's not just one thing or another. It's how we can look at our different communities in different ways. And back in 2022, we were able to establish the 110 Legacy Fund, and that is an endowment through our Oklahoma City Community Foundation that leaves a legacy for in perpetuity for our community. So it's lifelong, and it will provide grants that support young leaders in the hospitality, entrepreneurship, and leadership development. So that's another way of being able to invest your money. And we had brought in a year later an advisory board that are leaders and stakeholders in this area. And they had programs that just didn't have the financial support to get them off the ground. And so we were able to bring them together, brainstorm ideas. They did a Shark Tank style presentation. They didn't know they were going to be doing this ahead of time. And they made a pitch for the programs that they've just been wanting to do. And so it was really cool to be a part of that and experience that. And the allocations were decided in that session. And so giving back to those clients of ours and leaders in the industry and able to support future industry leaders that are interested in this world, whether it's hospitality, whether it's event management, or the rental side of the house, or production and AV, all of those things are supported. And then this year we were actually able to issue that grant money over $100,000 to 13 different organizations. So, for example, Oklahoma State University has a hospitality tourism management department, and some of those funds went to help launch a club for their student organization. Oklahoma Restaurant Association, so we're able to help them with their foundation to support a school to career curriculum in the industry. And we work a lot with the Oklahoma Restaurant Association. They do a lot of rental type things with us. And so it was great to be able to help support that specific side of the house. And then we have an association that we are a part of, and Association of Destination Management Executives International. And they had a program, Campus to Career program, and to help fund students being able to go to our annual conference, be more involved in the industry, maybe internships, that kind of thing. So the Legacy Fund investment really started as just a nest egg and has continued to grow. And the awesome thing about it will continue to grow for a lifetime. And that's a way to invest, not just in your inventory, but investing in the community. And it's not just one thing, like I said, it's your communities are different. And so this is one of those ways. So
Very cool. Well, Dawna, thank you again for that insight. I know Cam has to hop to our next session about industry horror stories, which I'm very excited to be facilitating as well. We've got a couple of questions just before we hop here, but Cam, if you want to jump, by all means, I'll see you in the next session. But would love to ask some rapid fire 30-second questions. Lindsay, on your side, what resources do you use to liquidate your inventory?
So when it comes to inventory and keeping things evolving and going and stuff like that, I love, like Cam and everyone has been saying, just like selling things. So when I think that something needs to go, I've turned to Facebook Marketplace, and we have sold a tremendous amount of stuff. Again, like people, what is it? The trash through your treasure, that saying or whatever, but people want it, and they'll come from, Ohio, everywhere just to buy it. And again, if it's not making money in a couple years, then, it's definitely going out. So anyone that sells it, and I reach out to other rental companies as well, or nonprofits, or anything that, is a constant client of ours that, could use that just as a, just keeping it instead of renting it every time. We definitely, take advantage of those avenues.
Very cool. Do any of y'all have a permanent photo space that you use? Chelsea, I see you nodded on your side. Yeah?
Yeah. We actually are setting it up. We're like in the process. This
very
is
cool.
something that was important to me because our warehouse doesn't have a ton of cute walls to set things up for. And, getting trucks and staff to move things to different venues is just unrealistic, especially when you have new items coming in. So we are putting up a photo drop wall and taking photos with our phones. iPhones are pretty fancy. I know a lot of photographers and they all tell me just use your iPhone, just get an updated iPhone and take photos, portrait mode. And we keep everything pretty simple, like nothing in the backdrop anyway. So we have a designated area that was built into the floor plan when we moved into our space. So definitely.
Awesome. Well, I see we are at our time here. Brittany, I did see you have a question regarding purchasing shelving and expanding vertically. Would definitely recommend if you want to go on John or William's website. I'm sure that they would be happy to chat a little bit more about that. I've got to hop to my next call, but thank you to Cam who had to hop to the next session. Thank you, Chelsea, William, Lindsay, John, and Dawna. Thank you for your time today and for your great insights. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next session. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.